Order in the court! The bailiff shouted, slamming his hand against the wooden door as I stepped inside. But the sound didn't silence the whispers, not after my son rolled his eyes at me in front of everyone. It cut through me like a blade. He looked at me like I was the enemy, like I was the reason we were all here today. The courtroom was packed. Family, friends, church members, even neighbors who had no business being here but came for the spectacle. Cameras flashed from the back, journalists scribbled in notepads, waiting for a scandal to explode. But the explosion didn't come from them. It came from the judge. The moment her eyes met mine, her gavel froze mid-air. She leaned forward, her voice cracking with disbelief. "Is that her mother?" The entire room went silent. You could hear the faint hum of the fluorescent lights above. Heads turned. Whispers rippled like fire catching dry grass. They didn't know who I really was. They had no idea of the weight I carried, or the secrets buried in this family. And for the first time in years, I didn't flinch. I let them look. Let them wonder. My son, Darius, shifted uncomfortably in his seat beside his wife Rochelle, the woman I once welcomed into my home, only to discover she had been sleeping with my husband behind my back. And now, the two of them sat together, united against me. The betrayal was so deep it poisoned every breath I took. My family wasn't just broken. It was burned to ash. The judge cleared her throat, trying to gather herself. "Proceed," she said, but her hands trembled as she picked up her notes. She knew me. I could see it in her eyes. And that recognition, whatever it meant, was about to change everything. I didn't come here to play victim. I came for revenge. Your Honor, my lawyer, a sharp-tongued sister from Atlanta named Patrice, stood tall, her red suit glowing against the dull oak walls. Before we proceed with custody arrangements, the court must hear the truth about what has been going on in this marriage. Rochelle smirked, crossing her legs slowly, her diamond anklet glinting under the fluorescent lights. She leaned over to whisper something in Darius's ear, and he chuckled. My stomach tightened. Even here, in a courtroom where lives were being decided, they couldn't hide their arrogance. I remembered the night it all began, the night my world cracked. I had come home early from a church conference in Chicago. The lights in my house were dim, but voices floated from upstairs. Laughter. Low, intimate laughter. I climbed those stairs with dread pressing down on me, each step heavier than the last. When I pushed open my bedroom door, my knees buckled. There they were, Rochelle and my husband Marcus. Sheets twisted around them. Skin on skin. Their betrayal laid bare in the same bed I once thought was sacred. And when Marcus looked at me, he didn't even flinch. He just said, "You weren't supposed to find out this way." That night replayed in my mind now, sitting across from them in this courtroom. My husband may be dead now, car accident they called it, but Rochelle had carried on his cruelty, turning my own son against me. And now she wanted custody of my granddaughter, claiming I was unfit, unstable, bitter. But I wasn't unstable. I was angry. I was ready. Patrice's voice snapped me back. Your Honor, we have evidence, financial records, photographs, and testimonies that paint a different picture of this so-called stable home Mrs. Rochelle Johnson claims to have built with my client's son. The judge frowned, her gaze flicking between me and Rochelle. Proceed. Rochelle's lawyer, a slick man with a too-bright smile, jumped in quickly. Your Honor, let's not be distracted by theatrics. This case is about custody, not about airing dirty laundry. Dirty laundry? Patrice snapped. When the welfare of a child is at stake, nothing is too dirty to expose. Gasps rose from the audience. I could feel every eye on me, weighing me, judging me. My heart pounded in my chest, but I kept my face still, my back straight. I wasn't here to beg for sympathy. I was here to make them regret underestimating me. The judge leaned back, her eyes narrowing. Mrs. Johnson, she said to Rochelle, do you have anything to say about these accusations before I allow this evidence into record? Rochelle's smirk never faded. She stood slowly, her voice sweet as poison. Your Honor, this is nothing but bitterness. My mother-in-law cannot accept that her husband loved me more than he loved her. She's making up lies to cover her shame. She's obsessed with destroying me, and now she's dragging my daughter into this mess. Her words sliced through me, but I didn't break. I locked eyes with her and smiled, a slow, deliberate smile that made her falter for just a second. Because what she didn't know was that I had a secret. A secret that could end her. A secret that would flip this courtroom upside down before the day was over. And when I leaned forward, my voice steady, I said, "Your Honor, I request permission to take the stand. Because what I have to say will change everything you think you know about this case." The judge hesitated. The air was so thick with tension you could slice it. And then, she nodded. As I stood, Rochelle's confident mask cracked. She gripped Darius's arm so tightly his face twisted in pain. For the first time, she looked afraid. She should have been. Because I wasn't just a scorned wife or a bitter mother-in-law. I was something else entirely. And when I opened my mouth, I began with a truth no one in that courtroom was ready to hear. The courtroom buzzed with nervous whispers as I rose to my feet. Every eye followed me. My heels clicked against the polished floor as I walked toward the stand, each step echoing like a drumbeat of war. Darius avoided my eyes, staring at the table in front of him. Rochelle sat stiff, her smile gone, her jaw clenched. She knew something was coming, but she didn't know what. The bailiff swore me in. "Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?" "I do," I said, my voice steady. But inside, my chest throbbed with fire. For too long, I'd been silenced, painted as bitter, crazy, broken. Today, the truth would finally bleed through these walls. Patrice stood tall, her eyes gleaming. "Mrs. Johnson, tell the court what you discovered the night of June 14th, 2 years ago." Gasps filled the room. The date meant nothing to strangers, but to me, it was carved into my bones. My fingers gripped the wooden edge of the stand. That was the night I walked into my bedroom and found my husband, Marcus Johnson, in bed with my daughter-in-law Rochelle. The audience exploded. Murmurs, gasps, even screams rippled across the benches. The judge banged her gavel. "Order. Order in this courtroom." But the noise wouldn't settle. Some clutched their pearls, others shook their heads. Church mothers whispered prayers under their breath. My son's face flushed red, his fists clenched. "And Rochelle?" She smiled again, but this time it was tight, strained, fragile. "That's a lie," Rochelle hissed, her voice breaking through the noise. "Your Honor, she's delusional. Everyone knows Marcus loved me. He wanted me. He was going to leave her." Her lawyer tugged at her sleeve, trying to silence her, but it was too late. The damage was done. Every word she spoke was gasoline on the fire. Patrice pounced. "So you admit there was an affair?" Rochelle froze, her lips pressed tight, but her silence was louder than any confession. The judge leaned forward, eyes wide. "Mrs. Johnson, do you have proof of this claim?" "Yes, Your Honor." I pulled a thick envelope from my purse and handed it to Patrice. She slid out the contents, photographs, bank statements, and a letter Marcus had written to Rochelle. The photos showed them together, not just once, but over months, even on vacations Marcus claimed were business trips. The bank statements showed money drained from our joint account, funneled into Rochelle's name. And the letter, oh that letter, was Marcus's promise to start a new life with her, even if it meant abandoning his son and granddaughter. The room fell into stunned silence. Darius finally lifted his head. His voice was low, trembling. "Mom, stop. Why are you doing this?" "Because you deserve to know the truth," I shot back, my words sharp as glass. "You think Rochelle is some angel who saved you after your father's death? She's the reason he turned his back on this family. She's the reason he drained everything we built together. And now she wants to take your daughter away from me, too." Darius shook his head violently. "No, Rochelle wouldn't." But Rochelle's trembling hands betrayed her. She squeezed his arm, her nails digging into his skin, trying to shut him up before he connected the dots. Patrice wasn't finished. "Your Honor, I would also like to submit witness testimony. A neighbor reported seeing Mr. Johnson and Mrs. Rochelle Johnson entering hotels together on multiple occasions. This wasn't speculation. This was a full-blown affair." The judge's face hardened. She turned to Rochelle. Do you deny these claims? Rochelle lifted her chin, her voice cracking but defiant. So what if Marcus and I loved each other? He was unhappy in his marriage. He found happiness with me. That doesn't make me unfit to raise my daughter. The courtroom erupted again. Darius buried his face in his hands. I could feel tears burning behind my eyes, but I wouldn't let them fall. Not here. Not now. Instead, I leaned forward, my voice slicing through the chaos. Unfit isn't just about who you sleep with, Rochelle. It's about character. It's about trust. And you've proven you don't have either. The judge raised her gavel again, but then stopped. Her gaze lingered on me, as if something deeper stirred in her memory. Her hand trembled before she set the gavel down. We will recess for 15 minutes, she said, her voice strained. The bailiff called order, but the room didn't calm. People jumped up, whispering, staring at me like I was a storm that had just ripped through their town. Rochelle's mask finally slipped. Her eyes were wild, her lips trembling. She turned to Darius, her voice frantic. Don't listen to her. She's lying. She's trying to destroy us. But Darius didn't answer. He just sat there broken, staring at the evidence in Patrice's hands. As the judge stepped down and disappeared into her chambers, she glanced back at me one last time. There was something in her eyes, fear, recognition, maybe even guilt. And in that moment, I knew, the secrets about this family didn't stop with Rochelle and Marcus. The judge knew more than she was letting on. I tightened my grip on the edge of the stand, my voice low but fierce as the recess bell rang. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. When the judge returned to the bench, the air in the courtroom was so heavy it felt like the walls themselves were closing in. The chatter died instantly. Everyone leaned forward, waiting. Rochelle gripped Darius's hand so tightly his knuckles turned white. My son still wouldn't look at me. He was stuck between the woman who betrayed him and the mother who refused to stay silent. The judge adjusted her glasses, her gaze falling on me like a weight. Her voice trembled at first, but she caught herself quickly. This court is not a theater. We are here for one purpose only, the custody and well-being of the minor child involved. But her eyes told another story. She was rattled in a way I hadn't seen in all my years of sitting in courtrooms for community disputes, custody hearings, and even my own divorce settlement. This wasn't just about law anymore. It was personal. Patrice rose smoothly. Your Honor, my client has provided irrefutable proof of infidelity and financial misconduct. We believe these actions directly impact Mrs. Rochelle Johnson's fitness as a guardian. But beyond that, there is another matter that demands attention. The judge's jaw tightened. And what is that? Patrice's voice sharpened. Conflict of interest. Your Honor, you reacted in shock the moment you saw my client. You froze. You whispered something in this very courtroom. And we intend to know why. Gasps echoed through the room. The judge's face drained of color. She fumbled with her papers, trying to hide behind protocol. That's inappropriate, Counselor. My personal reactions are irrelevant. But Patrice pressed on. Not when they could affect the fairness of this trial. Transparency matters. If there is any prior connection to my client, or this family, it must be disclosed. All eyes swung back to me. My pulse thundered. I didn't know what Patrice was chasing, but I trusted her instinct. She could smell blood in the water. The judge shifted uncomfortably. I will not dignify this line of questioning. We are moving on. I cut in, my voice louder than I expected. No, we're not moving on. Not until you tell this courtroom why you looked at me like you saw a ghost. A ripple of shock shot through the crowd. Even Rochelle's smirk faltered. The judge's hands trembled as she gripped her gavel. She opened her mouth, closed it again, then finally whispered, "Because I know who you are." The silence that followed was deafening. Rochelle tilted her head, her voice laced with venom. What is that supposed to mean? She's just some bitter old woman who can't let go of the past. The judge ignored her, her eyes locked on me. Years ago, before I ever wore this robe, I was a prosecutor in Atlanta. I handled a case that involved a woman who looked just like you. That woman was accused of embezzlement, fraud, and perjury. She vanished before sentencing. And seeing you today, I realize she didn't vanish. She rebuilt her life here. The courtroom gasped so loudly it felt like the air had been sucked from the room. My knees nearly buckled. The past I had buried, the life I thought no one could trace, had just been dragged into the light. Darius finally turned toward me, his eyes wide with horror. "Mom, what is she talking about?" I swallowed hard. I did what I had to do to survive. Everything I built, everything I gave you, it came from fighting my way out of a hole I didn't dig. That case, that trial, it was a trap. I wasn't guilty, but if I stayed, they would have buried me alive. So yes, I ran. I chose survival. I chose you. The room erupted again. Reporters scribbled furiously, cameras flashed. Rochelle's face lit up like a viper who had just found her prey. She clapped her hands together once, slow and mocking. Well, well, well. The saintly mother finally admits she's a criminal. Patrice cut her off sharply. Objection to this circus. The past case has no bearing on her current fitness as a guardian or on Rochelle's misconduct. If anything, it explains why my client fought so hard to protect her family. She knows what betrayal looks like. But Rochelle seized the moment, her voice rising above the chaos. Your Honor, this proves it. She's unstable, dishonest, a fugitive. And she wants custody of my daughter? Over my dead body. The judge slammed her gavel. Enough. The courtroom silenced. Her eyes darted between me and Rochelle, her face pale but her voice firm. This revelation changes things. We will need to evaluate the credibility of all parties involved. This case cannot be decided today. My chest tightened. Delay was Rochelle's weapon. Every day she kept my granddaughter away from me was another day she poisoned her mind against me. I couldn't let that happen. Not again. I leaned forward, my voice cutting through the stillness. If you delay this case, Your Honor, you're handing Rochelle exactly what she wants. She's already stolen my husband, my son, and my peace. I will not let her steal my granddaughter. Rochelle shot to her feet, pointing at me. You're finished. Everyone sees it now. You're a fraud, and soon you'll be nothing but a memory. The bailiff stepped forward to restrain her, but Rochelle's words burned through the room like acid. Darius's face twisted with confusion, pain, and rage. He didn't know who to believe anymore. His entire world was cracking in two. The judge stood abruptly. Court is adjourned until further notice. This matter will be revisited after further investigation. She banged the gavel and stormed out. The room erupted in chaos again, reporters surging forward, relatives whispering furiously, Rochelle shouting insults, Patrice shouting back. But through the noise, I felt only one thing, dread. Because I knew what Rochelle would do with this new weapon. She would drag my past through the mud, twist it, magnify it, and use it to destroy me completely. And as I walked out of the courtroom, a reporter shoved a microphone in my face. Mrs. Johnson, is it true you faked your identity? Is it true you ran from the law? I stopped, my breath trembling, my heart pounding. Cameras flashed. The world leaned in. And I said, the truth is bigger than what you've heard today. And when it comes out, you'll see who the real criminal is. The crowd roared with questions, but I walked on, Rochelle's laughter ringing behind me like a curse. Because deep down, I knew she was already planning her next move. And it would be brutal. The days after court felt like walking through fire. Everywhere I turned, whispers followed me. Neighbors stared longer than usual, church members stopped calling, and even the clerk at the grocery store paused before handing me my change. Rochelle had wasted no time. By the evening of that first hearing, blogs and local news outlets were buzzing with headlines. Asterisk custody battle explodes. Mother-in-law exposed as fugitive from Atlanta. Asterisk. She had painted me as a criminal, a liar, and a fraud. And she did it with a smile. I sat at my kitchen table with Patrice, stacks of newspapers and screenshots spread out before us. My hands shook as I flipped through each article. She's already poisoning the well, I said, my voice raw. By the time we go back to court, everyone will believe her version of me. Patrice leaned back, calm as ever. Let her run her mouth. Every move she makes gives us more to work with. What we need is proof, solid proof, that Rochelle is unfit. You've given me her affair and the financial records. But I want something darker. Something that cuts deeper. Her words sank into me. Proof. That's what I needed. Not sympathy. Not pity. Cold, sharp proof. And I had a feeling I knew where to find it. That night, I drove across town to a place I swore I'd never return, Marcus's old storage unit. After his death, I hadn't bothered to clear it out. Too many memories. Too much pain. But as I pulled up to the dimly lit lot, something in my gut told me Rochelle had hidden things there, things she never wanted me to find. The lock clicked open. The air inside was stale, heavy with dust and secrets. I pushed aside boxes of Marcus's suits, his golf clubs, even old photo albums. Then I found it, a metal briefcase shoved behind a stack of broken chairs. I knelt, my fingers trembling as I pried it open. Inside were documents, contracts, receipts, and bank transfers. But what froze me was the folder labeled *R. Johnson. I flipped it open. Inside were credit card bills in Rochelle's name, each one maxed out, each one paid with money from Marcus's business accounts. But that wasn't all. There were also forged signatures. My husband's, my son's, even mine. Rochelle had been siphoning money for years, laundering it through shell accounts, gambling in casinos in Atlantic City. My chest tightened. She wasn't just a liar. She was a thief. A criminal. I snapped photos of everything with my phone, then carefully locked the briefcase back. As I turned to leave, my headlights caught movement outside. A shadow. Someone was watching me. Who's there? I called out, my voice sharp. No answer. Just the sound of quick footsteps disappearing into the dark. My pulse raced. Rochelle was already onto me. The next morning, Patrice's jaw dropped as she scrolled through the photos I'd sent her. This is it, she whispered. This is the nail in her coffin. With these documents, we can prove fraud, theft, and even endangerment. If she's willing to gamble away stolen money, she's unfit to raise a child. Relief washed over me, but it didn't last long. Because 2 hours later, a knock thundered at my door. When I opened it, police officers stood on my porch. Mrs. Johnson? One of them asked. We have a warrant to search your property. My stomach dropped. For what? Charges of fraud and identity theft, the officer replied. We have reason to believe you've been living under a false identity. The blood drained from my face. Rochelle. She'd beaten me to the punch. While I was gathering proof against her, she had dug deeper into my past and handed it to the authorities on a silver platter. My neighbors gathered on their lawns, phones raised, recording every second as the officers pushed past me into my home. Patrice arrived within the hour, furious. This is her move, she said, pacing my living room as the officers searched. She's using your past to crush your credibility before you can expose her. She'll win, I whispered, my throat tight. If the court believes I'm a criminal, they'll never give me custody. Darius already doubts me. Rochelle will poison him completely. Patrice stopped pacing, her eyes blazing. Then we fight back harder. Rochelle thinks she has the upper hand, but she doesn't know we have those documents. We're not just going to defend you, we're going to destroy her. As the officers left with boxes of my files, Rochelle's black SUV rolled slowly down the street. She was in the passenger seat, her window down, a smug smile on her lips as our eyes locked. She mouthed the words, "You're finished." But what she didn't know was that I wasn't finished. Not even close. Because the moment those documents reached the court, the world would see Rochelle for what she really was. And as I closed my door behind me, fury burning in my veins, I whispered to myself, you came for me first, Rochelle. But now, I'm coming for you. The next hearing felt like stepping into a lion's den. Reporters packed the hallway outside the courtroom, their cameras flashing as Patrice guided me through the crowd. Microphones shoved into my face, voices shouted questions. Are you a fugitive? Did you steal your identity? Did you commit fraud? I ignored them all, my head high, even though my stomach churned with fear. If I faltered now, Rochelle would win. Inside, Rochelle sat at the plaintiff's table, draped in a sleek navy suit, her hair pinned perfectly, her diamond earrings flashing under the lights. She looked like a woman who already had victory in her pocket. Darius sat beside her, shoulders stiff, his face pale. He wouldn't look at me. Not once. That cut deeper than any headline. The judge entered, slamming her gavel. Order in the court. Her voice was sharper this time, colder. The weight of her revelation about me still hung in the air, but she was determined to appear in control. Patrice stood first. Your Honor, before any further slander is thrown against my client, we request the court review newly discovered evidence regarding Mrs. Rochelle Johnson's conduct. Rochelle's eyes flickered, just for a second. She hadn't expected us to fight back so quickly. Patrice handed a thick folder to the bailiff. Inside you'll find bank records, forged documents, and proof of illegal gambling. All tied directly to Mrs. Johnson. My client found these records in her late husband's storage unit, records that show years of theft and fraud. The judge flipped through the papers, her face tightening. These are serious allegations. They're not allegations, Patrice shot back. They're facts. Rochelle shot to her feet. This is ridiculous. She's framing me. She planted that evidence to cover up her own crimes. Patrice's voice cut like steel. Then explain these casino receipts in your name, Mrs. Johnson. Explain why Marcus Johnson funneled thousands of dollars into your personal accounts. Explain the forged signatures, including one of your husband's, on loan documents. If this is a frame job, then you're the one holding the smoking gun. The courtroom buzzed with whispers. The judge banged her gavel, but her eyes lingered on Rochelle, searching for answers she couldn't give. Darius shifted uncomfortably, his voice breaking the silence. Rochelle, is it true? Her face hardened, but her voice softened, dripping with manipulation. Baby, don't listen to them. This is your mother's way of tearing us apart. She's jealous. She can't stand that your father loved me more than he loved her. I stood then, my voice calm but sharp. This isn't about your father, Darius. This is about your daughter. And Rochelle doesn't care about her. All she cares about is money and control. Don't let her drag you down the same path Marcus walked. Darius's eyes darted between us, torn, broken. He opened his mouth to speak, but Rochelle squeezed his hand so tightly he winced. She wasn't just holding his hand, she was holding him hostage with her grip. The judge cleared her throat, her voice firm. The evidence presented raises serious questions about Mrs. Johnson's credibility and fitness as a guardian. Until these allegations are fully investigated, custody of the child will remain undecided. No. Rochelle shouted, her mask cracking. You can't do this. She's the criminal. She's the one who should be investigated. Patrice stepped forward, her voice loud and steady. And she will be. But not today. Today, it's you under the microscope, Rochelle. The judge banged her gavel again. Enough. We will recess until further review. Both parties are ordered not to remove or conceal any assets or documents related to this case. This court will get to the bottom of the truth. As the bailiff announced adjournment, Rochelle turned toward me, her eyes blazing with hate. She mouthed one word, war. Outside the courtroom, chaos erupted. Reporters swarmed Rochelle, shoving microphones at her. She plastered on a false smile, spinning her lies. This is nothing but a witch hunt. She's desperate. She's trying to steal my child because she has nothing left. Then the cameras turned to me. My voice shook, but I forced myself to speak. The truth will come out. Rochelle isn't the woman she pretends to be. She's built her life on lies and betrayal. And soon, everyone will see that. That night, my phone rang. An unfamiliar number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me press accept. A man's voice crackled on the line. You don't know me, but I know Rochelle. I used to work with her. She's more dangerous than you think. Meet me tomorrow, alone. If you want to bring her down, I have what you need." My blood ran cold. "Who are you?" The line went dead. I sat in silence, the phone still pressed to my ear. Rochelle was cornered, but cornered snakes bite the hardest. And now, someone from her past had stepped out of the shadows. I whispered to myself, this isn't just a custody battle anymore. This is survival. The next morning, I sat in my car parked outside a dingy diner on the edge of town, my hands clenched tight around the steering wheel. Patrice had begged me not to go alone, but I needed to know what this stranger had on Rochelle. Every instinct screamed danger, but desperation drowned out fear. If this man truly knew her past, it could be the weapon I needed. The bell over the diner door jingled as I stepped inside. The smell of burnt coffee and fried eggs clung to the air. A man sat in the far booth, his baseball cap pulled low, his jacket frayed at the cuffs. He looked up when I approached, his eyes bloodshot but sharp. "You came," he said, his voice rough. "Who are you?" I asked, sliding into the booth. "Name's Calvin. I worked with Rochelle a few years back. Not in any office, if you know what I mean." He leaned closer, lowering his voice. "She's not who she says she is. She ran cons up and down the East Coast. Credit card scams, fake charities, real estate fraud. Rochelle doesn't build lives, she destroys them. And anyone who gets in her way, disappears." My stomach tightened. "You're saying she's dangerous?" He nodded. "Deadly. I left when things got too hot. But I kept records, documents, photos, names. Enough to bury her. If you want custody, if you want to end her reign over your family, you'll need what I have." "Then give it to me," I said quickly. Calvin shook his head. "Not here. Not now. Too risky. Rochelle has eyes everywhere. Meet me tonight midnight, at the old rail yard. I'll bring the files." Before I could respond, he slid out of the booth and walked out, leaving me with a coffee-stained napkin that had only 2 words scrawled on it, *midnight. Alone. *. The rest of the day was a blur. I picked at food I couldn't taste, paced my living room, replayed every warning Patrice had ever given me. But something about Calvin's eyes, his voice, it rang with truth. Rochelle had skeletons buried, and if I didn't dig them up, she'd bury me instead. By midnight, I was back behind the wheel, pulling into the abandoned rail yard. The air was thick with fog, the streetlights dim and flickering. I killed the engine, stepping out into silence broken only by the distant sound of a train horn. "Calvin." I called softly, my breath fogging the air. "It's me." A figure stepped out from the shadows, holding a duffel bag. "Over here." I hurried forward, my heart racing. "Do you have it?" He unzipped the bag, flashing stacks of papers, flash drives, and photographs. "This is everything. Rochelle's scams, her partners, her accounts. Enough to put her behind bars for life." But before I could take it, headlights cut through the fog. Tires screeched. A black SUV roared into the yard, stopping hard. Doors flew open. Men in dark clothes spilled out. "It's a setup," Calvin hissed. "Run." We bolted in opposite directions, gunshots cracking through the night. Bullets pinged off metal rails. My lungs burned as I sprinted through the maze of rusted train cars. Behind me, footsteps thundered. A hand grabbed my arm, yanking me back. I swung with all my strength, elbowing the man in the face. He cursed, but I broke free, diving behind a stack of crates. From the distance, I heard Calvin shouting. Then, a gunshot. Silence followed. Terror clawed at my chest. I peeked around the crate, but the SUV was already tearing away, its headlights disappearing into the fog. Calvin's duffel bag lay abandoned near the tracks. My hands shook as I snatched it up and ran for my life. By the time I made it home, dawn was breaking. I collapsed onto the couch, dumping the bag onto the floor. Papers spilled everywhere. Contracts, forged checks, fake IDs, casino receipts. It was worse than I thought. Rochelle wasn't just a manipulator. She was a career criminal. And now, thanks to Calvin, I had the proof. But at what cost? Had they killed him? Was he lying in that yard while I clutched the evidence he died for? The phone rang. I jumped, fumbling to answer. A familiar voice oozed through the line. "Rochelle. You really think you can win, don't you?" She purred. "You think you've got something on me. Let me remind you, sweetheart, you're the one with a criminal past. You're the fugitive. And by the time I'm done, you'll be the one behind bars, not me." "You set me up," I hissed. "Those men at the rail yard." Her laugh was cold, mocking. "You should have stayed in your lane. But now? Now you've made it personal. And trust me, you don't want me as your enemy." The line went dead. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped the phone. Rochelle knew. She knew about Calvin, about the bag. She would come for me. For my son. For my granddaughter. When Patrice arrived later that morning, she found me surrounded by papers, eyes bloodshot, hands trembling. I shoved the files toward her. "This is it. This is everything. We have to move fast before she finds a way to spin it." Patrice flipped through the evidence, her eyes widening. "Lord have mercy. With this, we can charge her with fraud, money laundering, conspiracy. She won't just lose custody, she'll lose her freedom." But I couldn't shake Rochelle's voice from my head. The venom. The certainty. She wasn't going to go down quietly. She would fight. She would destroy everything in her path to protect herself. Later that evening, Darius showed up at my door. His face was pale, his eyes hollow. "Mom, what's happening? Rochelle's saying you're dangerous. She says you're trying to frame her. And then she told me something else. Something about Dad's accident." My breath caught. "What about it?" Darius's voice cracked. "She said, it wasn't an accident. She said you were behind it." The world tilted beneath me. Rochelle's lies were no longer just about the past. She was rewriting history, painting me as a murderer. My son's eyes searched mine, desperate, broken. "Tell me it's not true, Mom. Please. Tell me." Tears burned my eyes, but my voice was steel. "Darius, I would never hurt your father. Never. Rochelle is twisting everything to keep you under her control. But if you let her, she'll destroy all of us." Before he could respond, a brick crashed through my front window. Glass shattered across the floor. Attached was a note, scrawled in black ink, "Stay out of it, or next time, it's not just glass that breaks." Darius jumped back, his face white with fear. I picked up the note, my hands steady despite the storm inside me. Rochelle was escalating. She wasn't content with lies anymore. Now, she wanted blood. I turned to my son, my voice low and fierce. "You asked me to tell you the truth. Here it is, Rochelle is dangerous. And if we don't stop her now, she'll take everything. Our family, our freedom, even our lives." Darius swallowed hard, his eyes brimming with tears. For the first time, doubt cracked through Rochelle's grip on him. But I knew it wasn't enough. Not yet. Because Rochelle's war had only just begun. The morning after the brick crashed through my window, I woke to the sound of sirens wailing in the distance. Sleep had been impossible. I'd spent the night piecing together Rochelle's crimes from the files Calvin had left me, every page another nail in her coffin. But every nail I hammered, I knew Rochelle would try to rip out with bloodied hands. I was right. By noon, my phone buzzed with a text message that sent ice down my spine. It was a photo, my granddaughter Kayla, walking out of school, her tiny backpack on her shoulders. Below it, a single sentence, *, she belongs with me. Back off. *. I dropped the phone. My hands trembled as I picked it up again, staring at Kayla's little face, innocent, unaware of the storm around her. Rochelle wasn't just playing dirty. She was playing cruel. And she was dragging a child into her war. I called Patrice immediately. "She's escalating. She's threatening Kayla now." "Listen to me," Patrice said, her voice urgent. "Do not confront her directly. We'll file for an emergency protective order. With Calvin's files and this threat, we've got enough to involve law enforcement." But I knew Rochelle. Law enforcement wouldn't scare her. It would only push her deeper into rage. She thrived in chaos. And if I didn't get ahead of her, Kayla would be her pawn. That evening, I went to Darius's apartment. He opened the door looking worn, eyes sunken from nights of no sleep. Rochelle wasn't there, thank God. I stepped inside and placed the photo on his table. Look at this, Darius. She's using your daughter. Do you really believe Rochelle loves her when she's putting her at risk? His jaw tightened, but his voice shook. I don't know what to believe anymore. Rochelle says you forged those files. That you've been setting her up because you never wanted me to be happy. And now she's saying you killed Dad. Pain tore through me. Son, listen to me. Rochelle is a master manipulator. She lies as easily as breathing. She's using your love for Kayla, twisting it against you. But you know me. You know I could never do what she says. Darius sat heavily on the couch, his hands in his hair. For the first time, I saw the cracks spreading wide. He wasn't blind anymore. He was drowning in Rochelle's lies, desperate for air. Before I could press further, the apartment door burst open. Rochelle stormed in, eyes blazing, her heels clicking like gunshots across the floor. She held a manila envelope in her hand. Well, isn't this cozy, she sneered. You trying to poison him against me again? Haven't you ruined this family enough? She slapped the envelope onto the table. Photos spilled out, grainy images of me at the rail yard, meeting Calvin, holding the duffel bag. From the angle, they had clearly been taken by one of her men. Look at this, Darius. Rochelle shouted. Your mother sneaking around with criminals, buying evidence. That's your savior? That's who you want raising Kayla? Darius's face paled. He looked at me, betrayal and confusion battling in his eyes. Mom, is this true? Yes, I said firmly, before Rochelle could twist it further. I met with Calvin because he had proof of Rochelle's crimes. He risked his life to get me that evidence, and he may have paid the price. Rochelle sent those men. She had him killed. Lies. Rochelle shrieked, her mask cracking. Everything out of her mouth is a lie. I leaned forward, locking eyes with my son. Darius, if you can't believe me, then at least look at the files. Look at the bank accounts, the casino receipts, the forged signatures. Rochelle has stolen everything she's touched. Don't let her steal your daughter too. For a long, tense moment, the room went silent. Then Rochelle snapped, grabbing the photos off the table and shoving them back into the envelope. This isn't over, she spat. Her eyes bored into me. You think you're winning? You don't even know what game we're playing. She stormed out, slamming the door so hard the frame shook. Darius sat there, trembling, his hands shaking against his knees. I don't know what to do, he whispered. She's my wife, Mom. But you're my mother. And Kayla, she's all that matters. I put a hand on his shoulder. Then choose her. Choose Kayla. Not me. Not Rochelle. Your daughter. She deserves better than this war. He didn't answer, but I saw it, the flicker of resolve beginning to spark in his eyes. 2 nights later, things escalated again. I came home from the grocery store to find my front door ajar. My chest tightened. Slowly, I stepped inside. The living room was ransacked, drawers overturned, cushions slashed open. On the wall, spray painted in red, "You're next." I called Patrice in a panic. She arrived within minutes, her face grim as she took in the scene. This is intimidation, plain and simple. But it's also sloppy. Rochelle is getting reckless. That means she's scared. Scared or not, she was more dangerous than ever. I couldn't stay at home. Patrice insisted I move into a safe location until the hearing. But before we could even arrange it, the police knocked on my door. "Ma'am, you're under arrest." My heart slammed against my ribs. What? For what? The officer's eyes were cold. Fraud, embezzlement, and obstruction of justice. We have a warrant based on evidence provided by Rochelle Johnson. I was handcuffed in my own living room, dragged past flashing police lights while neighbors stared. Cameras were already there, reporters tipped off. Rochelle's handiwork. At the station, Patrice fought like hell, demanding my release. The so-called evidence Rochelle provided didn't match up with the files Calvin had given us. The timeline was wrong, the documents sloppy. After hours of interrogation, they finally released me, but the damage was done. My mugshot was already plastered across the evening news. When I walked out of the station, reporters swarmed me, shouting, "Are you guilty? Did you embezzle money? Are you fighting for custody just to hide your crimes?" I forced my chin up, my voice steady. The only crime here is Rochelle Johnson's lies. And soon, the truth will destroy her. That night, Darius called me. His voice was tight, urgent. "Mom, I've made my decision. Rochelle's gone too far. I'm filing for divorce. And I want you to help me get full custody of Kayla." Tears welled in my eyes. "Son, are you sure? This won't be easy. She won't let go without a fight." His voice cracked, but it was steady. "I'm done letting her control me. I see her now. And I won't let her ruin Kayla the way she ruined Dad, the way she tried to ruin you." Relief washed over me, but it was short-lived. Because as I hung up the phone, another message came through. A video this time. Rochelle's face filled the screen, her smile sharp as a blade. "You think you've won, don't you? Filing for divorce, siding with mommy dearest. Cute. But if you take Kayla from me, you'll regret it. Because accidents happen. Fires start. People disappear. And when the ashes settle, all anyone will remember is that you chose the wrong side." The screen went black. My blood turned to ice. This wasn't just about custody anymore. This was about survival. Rochelle had declared total war. The day of the final custody hearing dawned gray and heavy, like the city itself knew a storm was coming. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Rochelle's face on that video, her smile twisted, her voice dripping venom. Asterisk accidents happen. Fires start. People disappear. Asterisk. But I wasn't afraid anymore. Fear had burned out of me, replaced by something harder, sharper, resolve. Today, Rochelle's empire of lies would crumble. Today, I'd protect my family, no matter the cost. The courthouse was buzzing with tension. Reporters crowded the steps, cameras flashing, microphones waving in the air. Headlines screamed from every corner, "Mother versus stepmother, the fight for Kayla." Some painted Rochelle as the doting stepmother, others painted me as the villain. But none of them knew the truth, yet. Inside, the courtroom was packed. The judge entered, her face stern, her gavel slamming for order. Rochelle sat at the plaintiff's table, looking immaculate as always. Her navy dress hugged her frame, her hair shone under the fluorescent lights. But her eyes, those eyes were cold steel, fixed on me with lethal intent. Darius sat behind me this time, Kayla's small hand in his. He had finally chosen. And I knew Rochelle saw it too. Her jaw tightened, her smile faltered for the briefest moment. For the first time, she looked rattled. Patrice rose first. "Your Honor, we intend to present conclusive evidence today proving that Mrs. Rochelle Johnson is unfit for custody. Not only unfit, but dangerous." Rochelle's lawyer jumped in. "Objection," inflammatory language. The judge's eyes cut to him. "Overruled. Continue, Ms. Bailey." Patrice lifted a stack of files. These documents were recovered from Marcus Johnson's personal storage unit, as well as from an associate of Rochelle Johnson's who risked his life to bring them forward. They include forged loan agreements, bank transfers tied to illegal gambling, and evidence of multiple fraudulent identities. She laid the papers on the judge's bench. "In addition, we have proof linking Mrs. Johnson to threats against my client, including vandalism, intimidation, and attempted bribery of witnesses. And if the court will permit, we have a video recording that speaks for itself." The judge nodded. "Proceed." Patrice pressed play on the screen. Rochelle's face filled it, smiling like a serpent, her voice chilling. "Asterisk, if you take Kayla from me, you'll regret it. Because accidents happen. Fires start. People disappear." Asterisk. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. The judge's gavel slammed. "Order. Order in this court." Rochelle shot to her feet, her voice shrill. That video was doctored. It's fake. She's framing me. But Darius stood, his voice breaking the tension. It's not fake. I know Rochelle. That's her voice. That's her threat. And I won't let her hurt my daughter. The courtroom went silent. Every eye turned to him. He walked forward, standing beside me, his hand gripping my shoulder. Your Honor, I was blind for too long. I let Rochelle twist me, pit me against my own mother. But I see her now. I see the lies. And I want custody of my daughter away from her. Rochelle's mask shattered. Darius, how could you? She cried, her voice cracking with fury. After everything I've done for you, after everything I've given you, you betray me for her? He shook his head. You didn't give me love. You gave me chains. And I'm breaking free. The judge leaned forward, her voice sharp. Mrs. Johnson, the evidence against you is overwhelming. Your threats, your fraud, your manipulation. It all paints a clear picture. This court finds you unfit for custody. Effective immediately, guardianship of Kayla will be awarded to her father, Darius Johnson, under the joint supervision of her grandmother. The gavel came down like thunder. This hearing is adjourned. The room erupted. Reporters shouted, cameras flashed, people whispered in disbelief. Rochelle stood frozen, her face a mask of rage and humiliation. For the first time, she had lost. Truly lost. But I knew it wasn't over. As the courtroom emptied, Rochelle brushed past me, her voice a hiss only I could hear. You may have won today. But I don't lose. Remember that. Before I could reply, 2 officers stepped forward. Mrs. Rochelle Johnson, you're under arrest for fraud, forgery, and making criminal threats. They snapped handcuffs around her wrists. The look on her face as they dragged her away, shock, fury, disbelief, was a picture I would carry with me forever. Darius collapsed into my arms outside the courthouse, Kayla clinging to his leg. Tears streamed down his face. Thank you, Mom. I should have listened sooner. I should have trusted you. I held him tight, whispering into his hair. It's not too late. We have each other now. And we have Kayla. That's all that matters. But even as I spoke, I couldn't shake Rochelle's final words. I don't lose. She wasn't just a liar, she was a survivor. And people like her didn't go quietly. Weeks later, life began to stitch itself back together. Darius moved in with me temporarily while he rebuilt his life. Kayla's laughter filled the house again, her innocence untouched by the storm we had weathered. For the first time in years, there was peace. But one night, as I tucked Kayla into bed, my phone buzzed. A blocked number. I hesitated, then answered. A familiar voice slid through the line, soft and venomous. Rochelle. You think this is over? Prison walls can't hold me forever. And when I'm out, you'll wish you had buried me instead of exposing me. Enjoy your little victory while it lasts. The line went dead. I stood there in the dark, the phone heavy in my hand, my granddaughter's soft breathing filling the room. Rochelle was gone, for now. But the war she waged had left scars. And I knew one day, she might crawl back out of the shadows. But if she did, I'd be ready. Because this time, I wasn't fighting alone. Thank you for watching this story of betrayal, revenge, and survival. If you were gripped by this journey, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful storytelling. And tell me in the comments, what would you have done if you were in my shoes?